Previously on Dragon Ball Shinken, Vegeta, God of Destruction, and the old Goku began a completely surreal battle, a fight that even worried Beerus and Whis. It even impressed Beerus a lot, since he never imagined that the two Saiyans had become so powerful in the 30 years he had been asleep. In a clash of attacks, Goku and Vegeta disappeared from in front of Beerus and Whis and then reappeared on Beerus' planet again. But something was very wrong. Beerus and Whis simply didn't recognize them, and the God of Destruction began threatening them, preparing to kill them both. What will happen? Why are Beerus and Whis acting this way? How will Goku and Vegeta survive Beerus? Find out now.
Hakai.
With his hand pointed at Goku and Vegeta and gathering a huge amount of destructive energy, Beerus bluntly says, "Who are they and what are they doing on his planet?" The two are really shocked by the reaction, but Goku, in his usual way, thinks it's just some prank by Beerus, so he tries to approach all smiling, speaking casually, as if nothing is happening. But Beerus quickly shows that there's nothing playful about it. He launches all that energy into a little power sphere. Goku dodges immediately, but gets a huge scare, and when he realizes he escaped, he sees the sphere flying off, leaving the planet and exploding in the sky with a gigantic impact, so strong that it makes the entire planet shake. That's when it hits Goku. Beerus is really serious. He even screams in fright because the Hakai actually tried to finish him off. Meanwhile, Vegeta can't hold back and asks Beerus and Whis what's going on. He says that it's them, Goku, and Vegeta, their disciples. But, to total surprise, the Destroyer and the Angel look completely confused. Whis says that he's never had any students since Beerus himself, and Beerus, in turn, has never trained anyone. Looking more closely at Vegeta's outfit, Beerus gets puzzled and asks, why is he dressed like a god of destruction? Then, out of nowhere, he starts getting annoyed in an almost funny way, coming up with a crazy theory in his head and concluding that Vegeta is there to try to steal his position. Vegeta panics. With that, no, wait a minute, look, and tries to explain that it has nothing to do with that. But even before he can properly open his mouth, Beerus suddenly appears right in front of him and lands an absurdly strong punch to his abdomen. The blow is so brutal that Vegeta loses his breath instantly, spitting saliva without even being able to react. And it doesn't stop there. Right after, Beerus follows up with another punch, this time straight to the face of the Saiyan Prince, sending him flying so high that he disappears from sight. Goku is comically scared and tries to approach, telling Beerus that things aren't exactly the way he thinks. But Beerus doesn't even give him a chance to speak. He points his hand and unleashes a huge wave of power directly at Goku's head. The attack only misses because Goku awkwardly dodges, throwing his body back until his head hits the ground. When the wave passes over him, Goku gets up startled and immediately starts complaining in a very comical tone, saying that Beerus clearly launched that attack to kill him. Beerus responds that it's obvious, because that's exactly his intention. After all, he was sleeping and got woken up by the noise the two made. Now, they're going to pay with their lives. Right after, Beerus charges at Goku and tries to land a strike. Goku dodges and rises into the sky. The Hakai follows, launching multiple attacks, and Goku continues dodging awkwardly, trying at the same time to explain that they don't want to cause any harm. This only makes Beerus even more irritated. He gets annoyed that Goku is evading his blows and orders him to stop immediately. While all this happens, Whis observes very closely, surprised to see Goku dodging Beerus' attacks and realizing that this is far from normal. He notices that, although Goku seems like a goof, deep down, he's far from it. At one point, Beerus tries to land a full punch. When he realizes the blow is really going to hit, Goku reacts by gently deflecting Beerus' arm and performs a move that makes him go straight past, spinning several times in the air until being thrown toward the ground. Before smashing into the ground, Beerus manages to regain control of his body and land, but he's furious about what just happened. After that, Whis is completely impressed. He looks at Beerus and warns him that he'd better take this fight seriously and not underestimate the opponent, because Goku is using Ultra Instinct. Beerus is shocked by what he hears and asks Whis if he's sure about what he's saying. Whis responds that he is, that he had suspected it from the beginning, but after seeing Goku's last move, there's no doubt. Goku smiles and says that Whis is still as sharp as ever. Then, he confirms the Angel's suspicions, revealing that he is indeed using Ultra Instinct. He explains that after so many years of training, he finally managed to master what he had been practicing since the Granola arc, using Ultra Instinct as a complete technique without needing any transformation. Whis then asks how he managed to learn Ultra Instinct. Goku answers without hesitation, saying that it was Whis himself who taught him. But before the conversation could continue, the two notice a flash of energy approaching through the sky at extremely high speed. And it's not just any energy, it's the purple energy of destruction. Who's approaching is Vegeta, already transformed into Ultra Ego, flying straight toward the God of Destruction. Beerus sees the scene completely shocked, with a comical expression on his face. The shock is so great that he can't even react, and in the process, he takes a kick from Vegeta that sends him to the other side of the planet, leaving behind a huge trail of destruction on the ground. Goku becomes desperate at Vegeta's actions, also with a comical expression, and shouts that they should be trying to convince the two not start a real fight. But Vegeta retorts that he doesn't care. For him, Beerus really crossed the line by hurting him with those attacks, and no one hits him like that without paying the price. On the other side of the planet, a huge pillar of purple energy rises in the distance. From within that energy, who appears floating is the God of Destruction of Universe 7 himself, surrounded by a destructive aura and with a face full of fury. Beerus doesn't waste any time. He blasts off from where he is and, in a fraction of a second, returns to the spot where Vegeta was landing. The arrival is so violent that the impact opens a gigantic hole around the area where he lands. Furious, Beerus asks how Vegeta is able to use that power. At first, he thought Vegeta was just a fraud wearing the God of Destruction's outfit, but now it seems that's not exactly the case. On the other hand, Vegeta couldn't be the god of another universe because Beerus knows all of them. So he asks directly, "Who are you really?" Vegeta responds bluntly, "It was Beerus himself who taught him this technique, and he is the God of Destruction of Universe 7. The Hakaishin bursts out laughing and says that Vegeta must be crazy. As Whis had already said, he's never had disciples and doesn't intend to. Beerus reinforces it. He is the god of Universe 7 and will not hand over this position to anyone. The tension rises to the maximum. Beerus intensifies his aura, and Vegeta does the same. The two face each other, full of determination, while the intense energy from each of them envelops the entire battlefield. Goku was about to ask Vegeta again not to fight, but didn't even have time to speak because Vegeta advanced with a quick punch toward the God of Destruction. Beerus, with his feline agility, easily dodged. He responded by launching a series of rapid kicks. Vegeta took the first blows, but managed to block the following ones, and soon counterattacked with a powerful elbow that hit Beerus' chin, making the Hakaishin recoil. But Beerus quickly regained his composure, and the exchange of blows continued intensely. The battle went on, with both showing incredible strength, speed, and skill, a fight worthy of two true masters of martial arts. Because of the more aggressive characteristics of his Ultra Ego, Vegeta focused on a more offensive tactic, investing in brute attacks and not worrying about taking some hits from his opponent to create an opening. Beerus, on the other hand, followed a more balanced tactic, trying to land precise and fast strikes while dodging the enemy's attacks with agility. Even with this more gentle approach, the Destroyer did not give up on the power and violence in his blows. Each movement was calculated and executed with mastery, maintaining the balance between them. Goku notices that although Vegeta is using the power of destruction to cause more damage, Beerus also seems to be using Ultra Instinct in his movements, which are incredibly smooth and precise. Goku remembers that, in the exhibition fight against the other gods of destruction, Beerus used a similar tactic, managing well with the attacks of the other gods, but also attacking with great power. Comparing the two occasions, Goku realizes that now Beerus seems even better at this, as if he had trained a lot to balance these two approaches. Beerus' planet trembled with the intensity of the confrontation, and with each collision between the attacks of the two gods of destruction, climatic anomalies appeared, such as earthquakes, strong winds, and lightning. Despite Vegeta's fierce resistance, Beerus began to show slight dominance in the fight. With his smooth and precise movements, he managed to land some accurate blows that shook the Saiyan Prince. But Vegeta seemed to grow stronger with each hit received, feeding his combat instinct and, consequently, his body. With his vigor increasing every moment, he began to gain the upper hand, pressuring Beerus and landing more powerful attacks against the Cat God. At one point, Vegeta was preparing to deliver a stronger punch to Beerus, which would surely cause a lot of pain, but the God of Destruction stopped the attack. He pointed his hand at Vegeta and fired a large energy wave at point-blank range, pushing the Saiyan back. Angry, Vegeta began launching multiple energy spheres at Beerus, who moved through the air with skill and agility, dodging and responding with the same type of attack. The two started a true Keyball shootout, creating explosions and shock waves that shook the entire planet. The multiple explosions spread across the sky of Beerus' planet, while both skillfully dodged and counterattacked with increasingly powerful techniques. Then, Vegeta decided to change tactics and fired a powerful Gallic gun, while Beerus retaliated with a devastating energy sphere. The clash of these two attacks created an explosion so gigantic that all the smaller explosions seemed insignificant in comparison. After the Gallic gun, Vegeta decided to use an even more powerful technique. He concentrated an enormous amount of energy and unleashed his final flash, releasing a gigantic torrent toward Beerus. The God of Destruction responded with a colossal destruction sphere, Sensing the danger, Whis created a force field around himself, while Goku immediately teleported away. The collision of the attacks was so violent that it generated an extraordinary explosion, destroying the entire surface of the planet. When the dust settled, nothing remained but empty land on Beerus' planet. After the catastrophe, Whis felt safe enough to dismantle his force field, and Goku, who had teleported to escape the explosion, returned to the planet, visibly relieved. Beerus and Vegeta finally took a pause. They faced each other, panting, catching their breath. Beerus smiled and admitted that Vegeta was no ordinary person, and indeed possessed enough power to be a true god of destruction. Vegeta responded confidently, saying that he already is one, but it was still good for his pride to hear praise from someone like Beerus. The two were about to continue the fight, but then Whis shouted to Beerus and told him to take a look at his own planet. Only then did Beerus realize the destruction that had occurred and was completely shocked to see that his entire planet was devastated. Furious, he shouted at Vegeta, saying that he would pay for forcing him to reach that point. Vegeta responded bluntly, saying that Beerus had no right to complain, since in the past, he himself had been one of the people responsible for the destruction of Vegeta's planet. At that moment, Goku surprised everyone. He appeared behind Vegeta, touched the Saiyan's shoulder, and immediately teleported them far away from there. Beerus became furious and asked Whis where they had gone, but the angel merely gestured, indicating that he didn't know either. Goku and Vegeta were teleported to a barren planet. Vegeta asked where Goku had taken them, and he replied that he had just sent some energy there and brought them to this place. There didn't seem to be any intelligent life on the planet, but Goku had probably sensed the key of some animal or insect, which, in his current state, was already enough. Vegeta, very irritated, began reverting to his base form and asked why Kakarot had stopped him from continuing the fight. Goku explained that he and Beerus were taking everything too seriously, and that they should focus on understanding what was happening, not on killing each other or hurting friends. Vegeta retorted that he didn't want to kill Beerus, only to teach him a lesson. Goku replied that there was no way for him to know that. For some reason, the Beerus in that place seemed different from the one they knew. This Beerus seemed more evolved, and Goku was certain that he hadn't yet used all of his power in that fight. If they continued, both would take everything increasingly seriously, running the risk of killing each other or destroying the entire universe. Goku, laughing, commented that Vegeta and Beerus were very similar, temperamental and proud, always taking everything too seriously. Vegeta ended up agreeing with Goku and said that the Beerus he had just faced was different from the Beerus he knows. This Beerus didn't use all of his power in that fight, so he couldn't say whether he was stronger or not, but what he was sure of was that the other had a much more refined fighting technique. Vegeta commented that he had the feeling that the Beerus he knows seemed like a rusted version compared to the one he faced. Goku suggested that if this Beerus had improved his combat techniques compared to the Beerus they know, perhaps he had time to train. This could mean that they were somehow transported to the future. Vegeta countered that it couldn't be that, since a future version of Beerus would still recognize them. But even so, he agreed with Goku that perhaps they were in some parallel timeline, like Trunks' timeline. Goku then said they could go to Earth, as there they would have a better sense of what was happening. Vegeta agreed, saying it was a good idea. The two concentrated for a few moments, identified the location of planet Earth, and teleported. Goku and Vegeta arrived on Earth, specifically at Capsule Corporation. Looking around, they noticed that the place didn't seem different from what they knew, but soon they saw something that left them in complete shock. Walking through Capsule Corporation's garden were Yamcha and Bulma, and that wasn't all. They were hugging like a couple. When Vegeta sees this, he becomes completely paralyzed, as if he had lost his life for a moment. But soon after, the rage returns at full force, exploding into an impressive fury. He yells with all his strength for Yamcha to take his hands off his Bulma. The Saiyan Prince's voice is so piercing that it makes the entire place shake. Yamcha and Bulma are completely terrified, not even having noticed the presence of other people there. They ask who they are, but Vegeta doesn't want to hear introductions. He wants answers. Why the hell are they together like that? Yamcha says that Bulma is his wife and that this is their home. He also comments that, in that case, it's they who are in the wrong, and therefore they shouldn't be asking questions. Upon hearing that Yamcha and Bulma are a couple, Goku and Vegeta are even more surprised. Vegeta's anger spikes to the point that he screams at Yamcha to get away from his wife, or else he would make him disappear in an instant. Goku tries to plead for Vegeta to calm down, but the prince doesn't want to listen. All he wants is to finish that bastard. Yamcha, in turn, displays a proud smile. With his chest puffed out and a posture of superiority, he says that they have no idea who they are dealing with. After all, they are talking to Yamcha, one of Earth's great heroes. Vegeta responds that Yamcha would only be a hero in hell, and that's exactly where he would send him now. Without thinking twice, Vegeta fires an energy sphere at Yamcha, who is caught by surprise by the sudden attack. But before anything really serious happens, Goku points one hand at the energy sphere and the other toward the sky. Vegeta's energy disappears from there and then reappears in the sky before exploding. The power of the explosion made the entire place shake. leaving Yamcha and Bulma completely terrified. Goku scolded Vegeta, saying that he could destroy all of Capsule Corporation with that, and even end up killing Bulma. Vegeta seemed remorseful for what he had done, but quickly justified that he simply couldn't contain his hatred. Yamcha responded that they would pay for that. He began to concentrate his power, releasing an intense energy aura. Goku and Vegeta were surprised, realizing that Yamcha's power was truly far beyond what they knew. Goku asked how Yamcha had become so powerful, and he replied that he had already warned them not to provoke him. Then Yamcha threatened them again, saying that they would pay for invading his house like that. Yamcha said he would start with Vegeta and advanced in a low flight, threatening to take the Saiyan's life, but Goku quickly resolved the situation. He moved to Yamcha's back with enough speed that the opponent couldn't even react, and knocked him out with a very gentle strike to the back of the neck. Seeing her husband defeated so easily, Bulma was completely terrified and asked how he had done that. Goku joked, saying that this Yamcha could be thousands of times more powerful than the one they knew, but still didn't even compare to them. He also explained that he had to act that way for Yamcha's own safety, since Vegeta would certainly have torn the poor guy to pieces if he had come any closer. After justifying himself, Goku asked Bulma if they could talk. She had no choice but to agree. After everything that had happened, Bulma called the other Earth Warriors and asked them to come to her house. Shortly after, everyone was already gathered around a large table in the garden. Besides Goku, Vegeta, Bulma, and Yamcha, Krillin, Tien, and Piccolo were there. Goku and Vegeta explained the situation to everyone, saying that they apparently came from a parallel timeline, but that in this world, things were very different. After telling their story, they asked the others to report what had happened on the Earth of this world without their presence. In this world, Goku had never arrived on Earth, so no one knew of his existence. Bulma also explained that in this reality, she went after the Dragon Balls alone. During this journey, she met Yamcha, they fell in love, and in the future, they ended up getting married. Goku asked how she got the 4-star Dragon Ball without him being there to give it to her, and Bulma explained that Son Gohan was very kind and gifted her the Dragon Ball. Goku then remembered that he was the one responsible for killing his grandfather. Therefore, if he had never come to Earth, Son Gohan would still be alive at the time Bulma went after the Dragon Balls. Bulma explained that, in this world, Son Gohan had only died a few years ago, and his death was natural due to old age. In this world, Krillin also became a disciple of Master Roshi, and together they participated in the 21st Martial Arts Tournament, in which Master Roshi himself was the champion disguised as Jackie Chun. The Red Ribbon Army also tried to take over the world and came very close to succeeding, but Master Roshi, Krillin, and Yamcha joined forces to destroy the evil organization. Sometime later, the 2021 Martial Arts Tournament took place, from which Tien emerged as the winner. But he was eventually persuaded by Master Roshi to become a better person, abandoning his plans to become an assassin. After the tournament, Piccolo Daimao and his servants began their evil plans, even managing to kill Krillin, Chiaotzu, and Master Roshi. But Yamcha and Tien trained intensely, and they also had the help of Son Gohan, who decided to fight despite being retired, wanting to avenge the death of his master. While Yamcha and Son Gohan dealt with Piccolo's servants, Tien managed to defeat the Demon King using the Mafuba, which he learned by observing Master Roshi. A few years later, Piccolo Daimao's son appeared in the 23rd Martial Arts Tournament, but Kami-sama, already anticipating this, called Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin to train on the lookout several years earlier. When Piccolo Jr. arrived to face them, the three joined forces and managed to defeat him. Goku asked how Piccolo had survived after that fight, since in his world, it had been him who spared the opponent's life. Piccolo explained that, at that time, the Earth Warriors didn't want to kill him so that Kami-sama wouldn't die either. However, after he was defeated in the tournament, Kami-sama used the Mafuba to seal him, and he remained imprisoned for many years. Vegeta asked if in this world they had encountered any Saiyans, and everyone answered no. Vegeta had already expected this answer, since if Goku had never arrived on Earth, he probably hadn't been sent there. This meant that Raditz had no reason to go to the planet, and consequently, neither did Nappa or Vegeta. Knowing that the Saiyans hadn't gone to Earth, Goku concluded that they probably also hadn't gone to Namek, since the reason for going there was to resurrect the companions who had died during the Saiyan invasion. They confirmed Goku's suspicions, saying that they had never gone to this place called Namek. Goku then asked if they had problems with androids, and they said yes. They explained that long after destroying the Red Ribbon Army, a remnant named Maki Gero created powerful androids to defeat them. Vegeta asked how they managed to defeat these androids, since in their world the Saiyans were crucial for that victory. They explained that when the androids attacked and they realized they wouldn't be able to defeat them, Kami-sama told them about the Room of Spirit and Time. Then everyone trained there for many days, which equated to many years. Even with all that training, they still wouldn't have been strong enough to surpass the androids. It was then that Kami-sama decided to sacrifice his individuality to fuse with Piccolo, absurdly increasing the warrior's power. Until that moment, Piccolo had been imprisoned Until that moment, Piccolo had been imprisoned, but he was freed with this objective. With Kami-sama inside him, he retained his consciousness, but inherited some of Kami's calmer personality. Piccolo became powerful enough to face the androids, and the others only assisted him in the battle. With everyone's cooperation, they managed to defeat androids 17 and 18. Goku commented that it didn't make sense. If Piccolo had never gone to Namek in this world, he should never have been able to defeat 17 and 18, since he wouldn't have increased his power by fusing with Nail. Therefore, the fusion with Kami alone would have been insufficient for him to match the androids. Vegeta reminded Goku that, in Trunks' future, androids 17 and 18 were much weaker than in their timeline. Perhaps it was the same case in this world, and maybe these androids were even weaker than those from Trunks' future, since as Goku didn't exist in this world, everything followed a different path. Makigero created androids strong enough only to defeat the Earthlings, and not someone more powerful like Goku. After hearing this theory from Vegeta, Goku agreed. Goku commented that, in his world, Krillin married android 18, and asked why that hadn't happened in this world. Krillin replied with disdain that he would never marry someone like her, as she was too evil. Vegeta had a big question. How had they dealt with Majin Buu, since he was extremely strong for the standards of the time and far beyond the reach of Piccolo or any Earthling? They explained that sometime before Majin Buu appeared, the Supreme Kai came to Earth and warned them about Babidi's plans. Then, they were taken to the Supreme Kai planet to train. There, a very old Kaioshin was called to help them with their training. This ancient god performed a ritual to unlock their hidden potential, making them much more powerful. Among them all, Piccolo stood out, even learning how to change his form. Goku commented that this old Kaioshin was inside the Z-Sword and asked if they had also broken the sword as Gohan did. But they explained that there was no Kaioshin inside any sword. He was living normally. So Goku and Vegeta concluded that in this world, Beerus had never sealed the old Kaioshin inside a sword. The others continued telling their story. After this training, they returned to Earth. While Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha dealt with Babidi's weaker minions, Piccolo faced Dabura. The battle was not easy, but they managed to defeat Babidi and his men before Majin Buu was released. Hearing this, Goku remembered something similar that happened in Trunks' future. He had also been trained in advance by the Kaioshin, and, for that reason, managed to prevent Majin Buu from being released. They finished the story by explaining that after these events involving Babidi, Earth had been at peace all these years. Even so, they never stopped training, since you never know when the next danger might arise. Goku and Vegeta reflected on this and concluded that it made sense that nothing else had happened on the planet. If the Saiyans weren't on Earth, Beerus, Frieza, and Moro would never have gone there. Universe 7 also wouldn't have been erased during the Tournament of Power, since the tournament only happened because Goku brought the future Zeno to his timeline. It was from the conversation between him and the two Zenos that the idea of organizing the tournament arose. Goku asked if two androids called Gamma 1 and 2 had caused problems on the planet, but they said no. At that moment, Vegeta concluded that in this timeline, those events hadn't happened yet and might never happen. They told them that an android called Cell Max was created while they weren't on Earth, but in this world, Cell never even came to exist. Despite all the explanations they received from the Earth Warriors, Goku and Vegeta were still very curious. They wondered what Frieza was doing and, most importantly, why Goku had not been sent to this planet. Vegeta commented that Goku should have been sent to Earth during the destruction of planet Vegeta. If he didn't arrive there, then either he died in the planet's destruction or the planet wasn't destroyed. They were very curious to find out what had really happened, and Vegeta suggested they go there. Since he knew the exact location of the planet, he used instant transmission to take the two of them. When Goku and Vegeta suddenly disappeared from the table, everyone was left speechless. They had left just as randomly as they had arrived. A comical, confused, and awkward silence took over. Goku and Vegeta teleported straight to planet Vegeta, and to their surprise, the planet was still there. Vegeta smiled upon seeing his home planet and said that he thought he would never see that place again in his life. Goku commented that he also never thought he would visit that place someday and asked Vegeta what could have happened for the planet to still exist in this world. Vegeta quickly concluded that Frieza hadn't destroyed the planet for some reason. Perhaps in this world he didn't even exist, or maybe someone had defeated him in the past. He said that to find the answer, they would need to find this world's version of Frieza, or perhaps their own father. But before they could make any decision, they noticed a group approaching at high speed. It was a group of Saiyan soldiers. The soldiers reached them and surrounded them. They explained that their radars had detected two presences suddenly appearing on the planet, and they had come to investigate. Vegeta sensed the key of the soldiers and was surprised to notice that their power level was much higher than the average level a Saiyan soldier had in their world. He commented that each of these men was stronger than he had been when he attacked Earth, and at that time he was already more powerful than any Saiyan he knew before the destruction of planet Vegeta. He wondered why the Saiyans of this world were so strong. The soldiers, for their part, were obviously perplexed upon noticing the appearance of Goku and Vegeta, and were shocked by their resemblance to King Vegeta and Kakarot. With these words from the soldiers, Goku and Vegeta realized that, in this world, Vegeta was the king of the planet, and Kakarot was apparently a known man. But the soldiers were not friendly, despite recognizing their faces. They said that they couldn't beat King Vegeta or Kakarot since both were in the king's castle, and it was they who detected the intrusion with their radar, ordering the invaders to be captured. In other words, these two standing before them could only be imposters. Vegeta was annoyed at being called an imposter, but tried to ignore it and asked to be taken to the king to talk. The soldiers, however, said that he was not in a position to give orders, and that they would only be taken to the king after having some bones broken. Vegeta told those worms to put themselves in their place, and with a flick in the air, knocked out one of the soldiers just with the pressure of the gesture, leaving the others completely impressed. Irritated by this and realizing that these two were truly strong, the soldiers warned that they would use their full power. And then, to the complete shock of Goku and Vegeta, all the soldiers surrounding them transformed into Super Saiyans. Goku and Vegeta were left completely stunned, wondering how the heck those ordinary soldiers could be Super Saiyans. One of them, impatient, decided to attack first. He flew toward Vegeta and tried to punch him in the face, but to the soldier's misfortune and the shock of his companions, the man's hand broke upon hitting the visitor's body. Vegeta was extremely angry that this worm dared to touch him, and while releasing his power in a way that sent all the men around flying, shouted that they shouldn't think they were anything just because they had transformed into Super Saiyans. After being thrown away by the simple act of Vegeta releasing his energy, the soldiers fell to the ground, very surprised by the power that this man was displaying. Then they noticed the arrival of another person at the location, appearing behind Goku and Vegeta, telling them to leave his men alone. When they turned to see who it was, they were even more surprised. It was Bardock, whom the soldiers simply called General. General Bardock told his men that they didn't need to worry, that he himself would deal with those invaders. And then he transformed into Super Saiyan 2. This left Goku and Vegeta equally shocked. While Goku extended his hands in a peaceful gesture, asking his father to stop, the Saiyan General launched a powerful wave of energy at them,